What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome into another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. I just got into the Bay Area here, landed at SFO about an hour ago, and I'm headed to a work pickleball outing here in a little bit. But figured I'd just drop in before I head over there and just give you a little bit of my thoughts on this Cam Whitmore trade to the Wizards. First of all, I just love it. Like, let's just get right into it. Like, I think this is the right kind of move. This isn't like confirmation bias because I had Whitmore still, high despite any of the rumblings about him pre-draft. This is simply the type of like buy low reclamation project the Wizards should be trying to just take as many swings at as they can. Like, this is the reason you accumulate all these second round picks. It's to move up in drafts or go get guys that are, essentially buy low guys that are not as valued by their original team, which is basically the case with Whitmore. He got drafted in the Koulibaly draft. There was a lot of talk about, which of them would ultimately come off the board first. And then for a series of reasons, Whitmore, actually dropped on draft night. I think most people had him consensus top 10, some people top 5. Maybe consensus top 7 is probably fair. Realistically, that's exactly where I had him pre-draft, is that 6, 7, 8 range. I'd have to look at my final board there, but he was like a spot after Koulibaly, and it could have made the case, for him being higher potentially too, just based on some of the things he's accomplished in his career already. This was a guy that was the under 18 FIBA team for Team USA MVP on a gold medal team. Was incredible in that tournament. Was just a defensive nightmare. Like, was a strip sack for people. Like, he was literally just picking pockets and going coast to coast for these like monster, hammer dunks. And I think that's become like the signature of him. It's just the dude dunks harder than just about any wing I think might be in the NBA right now. He's a really good athlete, had a 40.5-inch vertical jump during the combine, tested really well on the agility drills. But this is a dude that just like, he dunks angry. And I think this is like a thing the Wizards need, especially with this group they've got. I really like the people they've assembled, but he's got a little MFer energy to him. And I think that's a good thing. And I talked about that a lot on the show, just needing a few more dudes with that kind of mindset, and hopefully that's something that rubs off on people or drives them competition wise. I've made some jokes, everybody's made some jokes I think at this point about the amount of small forwards essentially, or wings, or whatever term you want to give them, guys 6'5" through 6'8", that this front office has accumulated. But it really is the most valuable position in the league in my opinion, so might as well stockpile them and just let them all fight it out to the death here and see who rises to the top. And enough of them have, shown some flashes already, have some upside, some pedigree, so that if they don't work out here ultimately, you might be able to sell them and get something for them in return if they ultimately, don't fit into your long-term picture, or you can only have so many of those guys. It's just such a tough position to get good players at, because the really good ones get locked down for a lot of money. You look at guys and similar metrics like of centers versus wings, and the wings will make twice as much money just because you need more of them. You look at these playoff series where teams will have 4 wings out on the court at any given time and only 1 big. Like, so it's just you need more of them. They're harder to get. The good ones don't become available. And the ones that do become available, usually, there's some hole in their game. It's a Duncan Robinson who's going to make, $20 million a year, or whatever the case may be this year, and just gets hunted on defense. Ultimately, Whitmore, I don't think has been all that great in the limited minutes he's gotten in Houston, but I think a lot of times it's a mentality thing where guys are frustrated with their role. They don't lock in as consistently as you want. So just going somewhere, getting a chance to prove yourself over again and get a fresh start and feel like you're not behind the 8 ball with the coaching staff and things like that. I think we'll see a reinvigorated defender, and that'll just lead to some easy offense for him as well. So I'm not worried about the defense long term. So this is a guy that can be a two-way wing, and that's always intriguing to me. Got drafted after 1 year at Villanova, where he averaged 12.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, less than an assist per game at 0.7, which is a staple for him, unfortunately, here, the less than 1 assist thing. And that is an area he has to improve. You can't just be the only like play finisher. Like, you're going to have to move the ball. If you draw attention, and he is a good scorer and he's successful in that role here, he's going to have to be able to create some looks for other guys and not get tunnel vision. Averaged 1.6 turnovers per game at Villanova, not ideal. Shot below 35% from 3. He was, 34.5%, 70% from the free throw line. Not the best indicators. It is a little bit of a stiff shot, but I think he'll be respectable from three. And he's been okay-ish in 2 years in the NBA so far. His rookie year was better, I think, on paper than his sophomore year here. Averaged 12.3 points, about 4 rebounds, still 0.7 assists. That's the number apparently, and 1.6 turnovers. Oh no, sorry, that was the college year. He was 1 turnover last year, or his first year for Houston. 0.6 steals, 0.4 blocks. So not great from a stocks perspective for a guy that's that athletic. About 19 minutes per game, give or take. And then in year 2, 9.4 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 0.6 steals, 0.3 blocks, 1 turnover in 16 minutes per game. So his first year, he played 47 games, so didn't get into a ton of them. Only started 2 games. And then this past year, obviously the team was better. He played in 51 games, started 3 of them. So not a gangbuster start here for our guy, but some positives there. The shooting was a question mark. He shot 36% as a rookie and 35.5% last year. So respectable-ish. Like, you have to guard him out there on decent volume. That first year he shot 4.7 attempts. Last year he shot 3.6. So it's enough of a sample size to show he's going to be at least like a meh shooter, and hopefully, the Wizards seem very confident in their ability to teach shooting, and this is another guy that needs some work here. So, hopefully they're able to help him make some strides along with all the other guys. Koulibaly needs some help shooting. Keyshawn George, you didn't expect to need a lot of help as a shooter coming in, but he didn't shoot particularly well last year. Bub Carrington was not a great shooter in college and even before that, and last year was just okay. Alex Sarr had one of the least efficient shooting seasons anyone that big has ever had. And so, they're just around the board here. We're going to need some help in that department. If it were me, I would invest in the literal best 2 shooting coaches I could find and just sort of spread the wealth here a little bit. But again, they feel confident in what their staff can do. So we'll rock with it, and hopefully it just works out for him here in the long run. But, if he's just solid this year, I think that's okay. And he can be another switchable guy. He's a big, strong, physical dude. You might even be able to get away with playing him some small ball 4 minutes potentially. So if he's a guy that can guard 1 through 4, given the particular matchups out there, I think that's huge. And the best part of all of this is the price they gave up to get him here. 2 second-round picks, which is incredible. A 2026 second-round pick, a 2029 second-round pick. And apparently the rights to Mojave King from the Kings were thrown in there as well, which, I don't know that he'll ever come to the NBA. Maybe, we'll see what that looks like for them. Just sort of a throw in, I think, maybe to make some money work or something like that, or help out another deal. Who knows? And then Shams reported that the Rockets had better offers on the table, but wanted to send Whitmore somewhere where he could thrive. And I think that's cool. Some guys they do better around home and family. Some guys don't want to be here, like the Kevin Durant's of the world, need to get far away from the noise. And some of these guys are closer, tight-knit families and things like that. I think Whitmore's dad works as like a DOD contractor here locally in the Columbia, Maryland-ish area, if you want to take any guesses of where he might be supporting there. And obviously from Odenton there, and went to Spalding and things like that. So this is a dude I think that might just thrive being, right back around the Beltway here a little bit. I'm sure he and Bub Carrington have some familiarity with each other growing up or crossed paths. So that's cool. And again, I think the mindset will be awesome for them. At the very least, he's going to push dudes in practice. And I think that's something you want. And, last year, it just, the competition aspect of it wasn't really there. The rookies kind of got grandfathered in minutes from the start, and eventually they moved on from the vets, and there was just a clear path to all those minutes for the young guys, which is good in some respects. You want them to play because that's how they'll get better, is being on the court, but they also have to fight and earn those minutes. And now there's a lot more mouths to feed with Trey Johnson coming in. You got Will Riley there as well, and Jameer Watkins is not going to take no for an answer from anybody or take anybody's shit from day one too. So I think any of those guys just coming in and pushing people, I think is going to be, really interesting to see what that looks like and how the minutes shake out. And I think the vets are less minutes competition and more mentoring. Like, they're going to get their minutes, but it's really the young guys are going to be competing with each other to get out there on the court. And I think that's remains to be seen here who are the guys that earn those minutes. I think the expectation is that they'll probably, give first dibs to Koulibaly and people like that, and guys that are a little more entrenched or people they picked. But they went out and got these other dudes, so they clearly valued them pretty highly. And I would imagine that Whitmore was probably pretty high on their board on draft night if they circled back around to getting him, and maybe just the concerns, caused them to pass on him with that pick that ended up being Koulibaly, or the price was too steep to go back up and get him the second time. So that's going to be really interesting to find out where they valued him. I'd like to see more from Dawkins and company about just how long-standing, this sort of love affair with Cam Whitmore from their end has been. But why did he drop on draft night? It's still a little bit of an unanswered question. There was a lot of speculation that it was medical evaluation related. There's been some stuff about his knee cartilage, whether he has a degenerative knee thing was even thrown out there. He did break his tibia twice in like a 6-month period when he was a freshman in high school, which is obviously like not great for any guy that's that dynamic a mover to have multiple lower body injuries. But a broken leg is usually kind of a fluky thing, so something hopefully he fully recovered from. There was some stuff with his thumb and his hand at Villanova. Hopefully nothing lingering there, but there was also just reports of a lot of, like, the word I remember seeing a bunch at the time was lukewarm, and I'm doing air quotes for anybody listening to the audio version of this podcast, lukewarm workouts and interviews. And saw with Ace Bailey, like, guys sometimes play games a little bit in the workout or the interview, or don't feel like, putting on the dog and pony show for people. They just think their game will speak for itself. And that's not really how the game is played. Unfortunately, they want to hear certain things and certain answers, and that combined with the medical stuff and, a few glaring holes in college. Like, he was pretty good, but same kind of thing that you look at with even Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Like, I think there was more talent on that Villanova team that Cam played with and still didn't get them the kind of success Villanova was used to. Obviously, it was a newer coach under Kyle Neptune there, but like, if you're that talented and you're a top 5 recruit, I think there's some expectation that your team will have a reasonable amount of success, and they underachieved. So, that all kind of probably congealed together into this weird, like, okay, what happens? And then it's a copycat league, right? So if a couple teams pass on him pretty obviously, once you get to 10, 12, other teams get nervous. There's not a lot of time between picks, and dudes can snowball sometimes as people are like calling everyone they know, hey, what's going on? If you go back and listen to the Sam Vecini, Bryce Simon Game Theory podcast on draft night, they talked a lot about what was happening with Illinois freshman Kasparis Yakuchonis. And is it medical? Is there a thing here? Is there bad interviews? Was there bad workouts? And, apparently he rolled an ankle in his first workout and then had a couple meh ones after. So, like, it can be all this little stuff, but it's okay. It worked out for the Wizards. They eventually circled back around to a guy they clearly had some interest in. And again, the price to do it was almost nothing. So I was a little skeptical about, like, the trading back from 18 to 21. But if Riley was their guy and it helped them get 2 second-round picks, and that was the price to go out and get Cam Whitmore, like, this is awesome. And there was a lot of talk earlier in the week about Jonathan Kuminga. That was a guy I was crazy high on because I had seen him in prep, and he was just this freakish athlete, and it's never really fully come together. And there are some similarities between the two guys. They're not great shooters, big, solid, dynamic athletes, not as good at defenders as you would hope given their physical and athletic profile, but they don't really pass or create for others. And there's just hard to get too many of those guys on the court unless you're really elite. So I love Cam as a flyer and a project. He's still got some things to work on, but I think the upside of a guy that you just got for 2 second-round picks is crazy. And given the price for what it would take him to get Kuminga, I think this is a much better play at this point. He's got more room to grow. His birthday is in 2 days, so July 8th. If you're listening to this on July 8th, go wish our guy a happy birthday. He's literally not old enough to drink until Tuesday of this week, so that should tell you something here. Like, the third year is usually big for players' development, but he's still, again, not even 21 years old. So I think this is really, like, just a great thing from Will Dawkins and company. And I've been a little, like, down on some of the trades, not down, but just like meh on them. They've been fine. I wanted them to fleece somebody. And it sounds like Houston did us a little bit of a favor here, or a solid, or did Cam a solid. So you can't really call it a fleecing if they were, complicit in the crime here, I guess. But this seems like the kind of move I'd love to see them, work out a few more times here. So this is awesome. Maybe they can pull off a similar move for a young big man with some upside. That'd be incredible to see here as well. I think you've now got some guard prospects with Bub and Trey, and whatever you make of AJ Johnson, still worth kind of the effort here. I would imagine this forces even more of his minutes to come at the Capital City Go-Go level, but that's okay. Probably see more Will Riley and Jameer Watkins starting out the year there and things like that too, just to give some of these other guys a chance. And let's say even Cam Whitmore isn't a part of your long-term future. You have the minutes to give a guy like this to feature him and let him look good. And then maybe you flip him for a late first round pick later, and you've still come out ahead ultimately, even if he doesn't become a large part of your long-term future here, which again, I hope he is, but either way, there's just like, this is a pretty good upside, no risk move. And that's just a no-brainer if you're a front office. And as a fan, I can't imagine anybody could have like a real bone to pick with them for doing this. So it's going to be really exciting here. I'm going to have a little more content on the channel later in the week here, just talking about some of the guys that have been added to Exhibit 10 contracts and things like that you'll ultimately probably see on the Summer League team. Ain't No Half Stefan mentioned it in the chat here. He said, I doubt Cam will play Summer League as a former MVP. Yeah, that's a question, right? Like a lot of teams will play some of their better guys a few minutes the first game, trail them off in game 2, and then that's really it, for the whole weekend there. But it's good to have them there with some of the younger guys that can bond with their teammates. It's an opportunity for their younger dudes to take on a leadership role. So like maybe you see a few of these guys just go get a little cardio the first day, gel with the other newer guys, and then slowly taper off so they can evaluate these dudes that, maybe get a training camp invite or use their Exhibit 10s to parlay them into the G League team. Again, as a reminder, that Exhibit 10 contract is basically a chance to try out and maybe make the team in camp and convert to a standard contract, which given where the Wizards are at with roster spots, I think is a very uphill battle. But it is a chance for them to be converted to a G League contract, and they get a $75,000 bonus. Maybe that's gone up since last year, but last year was a $75K bonus if they go from an E10 to the Go-Go. So again, these dudes that they're adding on the side here, which we'll talk about more in the channel later in the week, we're going to have a new member of the Department of Hoops here, Ben Wolf, come on and bring in Nick Thomas, a draft analyst, and we'll talk about some of those guys. So look for that episode a little bit here later in the week, and then I'll check in with you guys hopefully, but before the start of Summer League, about the final roster, the schedule, all those kinds of things, and give you more detail. So if you have any specific questions about Cam or any of these other dudes, Jonathan Pierre, Kadari Richmond, Keyshawn Gilbert, just let us know, and we'll do hopefully a deeper dive on any of them. There are a few other videos up here on the channel that you can go check out on each of the 4 dudes that they've added, Zeke Mayo being the 4th one. And we'll try to do something similar on Cam Whitmore here too. So guys, this is great. This is a good day to be a Wizards fan. I'm actually maybe as excited about this as I was the draft. And if you guys listened to our draft show, I was huge on Trey Johnson. So this says a lot. And again, even if it doesn't work out, I just still love this type of thinking. And I hope they keep taking swings like this. So way to go, Will Dawkins. Just keep it up, brother. We appreciate you. All right. This is Believe in Wizards. You guys know the drill. Please hit that like button for us. We really appreciate when you guys do that. It makes this show more discoverable to other Wizards fans out there. Helps us grow our little community, all 406 Wizards fans that still exist. Maybe we can double that after an exciting season with some of these rookies and guys like Cam Whitmore out there. All right, we'll check y'all next time.